Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And certainly, what we have here is not the work of one person, but of many, 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 of dozens, of hundreds, of thousands of people really who have supported us and who continue to support our most important work. Thank you so much for coming out in this rather warm day. We made a bargain with the man upstairs. No rain, but he said, I may give you some heat from time to time. So we're very grateful to him for that. Since we dedicated this memorial 4 years ago, dozens of the national leaders from around the world have visited the memorial to lay a wreath and pay their respects to the 100 million victims who died under the most deadly ism of the 20th century, communism. In addition, many ethnic communities, Chinese, Vietnamese, Cuban, and others have come here to light a candle or to say a prayer for their loved ones. The memorial has become, in fact, what we hoped it would, a gathering place for those who love liberty and an international symbol of man's innate desire for freedom. 2 years ago, we launched the online Global Museum of Communism, the only museum on the internet that tells the complete story of communism from Marx to Mao. Since then, we have had 126,000 unique visits from 171 countries, including the communist nations of China, Vietnam, and even Cuba. This memorial and our online museum are major components of our mission to educate this generation and future generations about the history, philosophy, and legacy of communism. And we've now taken another educational step, the creation of the first ever curriculum on communism for high school students. The curriculum is a dynamic, interactive 13-lesson plan for teachers to help them teach their pupils about communism. And an integral part of the lesson plan is the online Global Museum of Communism. We all know that the primary source of information for young people, our children, our grandchildren, is the internet. And we know from the worldwide reaction to our online museum that it will be an invaluable tool for high school students and teachers. Sometimes I'm asked, why do you bother? The Cold War is over. Communism is dead. Why don't you get on with your life? Well, let me offer 2 examples of why we're determined to keep telling the truth and nothing but the truth about communism. Did you know that the American people and the American public is sponsoring a propaganda film celebrating the 90th anniversary of the Chinese Communist Party? I'm not making this up. The film, titled The Birth of a Party, is set to premiere next week in China. And I say that the American public is a sponsor because an official, and in their words, wholehearted sponsor of the film is General Motors, of which the U.S. government, that is, the American taxpayer, is a 33% owner. I've not yet seen The Birth of a Party, but I doubt it contains footage of the massacre of pro-democracy students at Tiananmen Square, or the Great Cultural Revolution, or the Laogai, the system of forced labor camps in which thousands of political prisoners are forced to make goods and are then exported to the United States and other Western countries. Yeah. Well, perhaps in the interest of telling the truth about the Chinese Communist Party, General Motors would like to help sponsor our curriculum on communism. Another example of the importance of history. Down in Bedford, Virginia, a private foundation has built a moving and in most respects accurate memorial to D-Day, June 6, 1944, when U.S., British, and Canadian forces stormed the beaches of Normandy, France, and initiated a military campaign that ended the defeat of Nazi Germany. However, for reasons that still make little sense, the National D-Day Memorial Foundation decided to install a bust of Joseph Stalin next to Franklin D. Roosevelt and Winston Churchill. Such an action does terrible injury to the memory of the brave men who died on D-Day. Since the fall of the Soviet Union 2 decades ago, statues of Stalin have been torn down all over Europe, in the former Soviet Union, and even in Stalin's hometown. How painfully ironic that a Stalin bust should be included in an American memorial about a seminal event and an historic crusade for freedom. Well, we didn't stand by, but immediately began a national petition campaign, along with the American Legion and other patriotic groups that persuaded the D-Day Foundation to remove the Stalin bust last fall. But there is talk of reinstalling Mr. Stalin, who ranks behind only Mao as a mass murderer. Believe me, we will continue to monitor the situation and take appropriate educational action if necessary. Our Jewish brothers and sisters understand so well what is at stake. They understand that history must not be forgotten, lest it be repeated. They keep reminding the world of the Holocaust, crying, "Never again." While there are many stories that could be told of those who courageously resisted communism, but I conclude with the story of Milada Harakova, to whom we presented the Truman-Reagan Medal of Freedom in 2004. Born in Prague in 1904, Milada studied law and philosophy at the prestigious Charles University. She became politically active, joining the Women's National Council, dedicated to promoting equal rights for women. After the occupation of Czechoslovakia by Nazi Germany, Dr. Harakova joined the resistance movement. Arrested by the Gestapo, she was beaten, tortured, and sentenced to death. But her sentence was reduced to life imprisonment, and she spent the rest of World War II in different concentration and prison camps. Following liberation, she was elected to Parliament. Her outspoken defense of human rights in opposition to communism was noted by the communists, and when they took control of the Czech government in February of 1948, with a little help from the Red Army, Milada Harakova resigned her parliamentary seat but remained active and openly critical of the communists. In September of 1949, she was arrested and charged with conspiracy to overthrow the communist government. Repeatedly beaten during interrogations that lasted for weeks, Dr. Harakova refused to recant her position regarding the illegality of the communist government. She was sentenced to death after a nationally publicized show trial. The prominent people like Winston Churchill and Eleanor Roosevelt pleaded for her life, but to no avail. Milada Harakova was hanged by the communists on June 27, 1950, a little more than 60 years ago. Among her last words were, "I love this country. I love these people. Build prosperity for them." In 2004, the execution date of Dr. Harakova became a state holiday of the Czech Republic, commemorating the victims of the communist regime. Milada Harakova's life was stolen from her, as were the lives of countless Russians, Hungarians, Poles, Balts, Cubans, Cambodians, Vietnamese, Chinese, Koreans, a river of humanity. We cannot, we must not, we will not forget them or their sacrifice. We must all pledge that never again will we allow so evil a tyranny as communism to terrorize the world. Thank you very much.